Call the meeting to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome to everybody. I don't believe we have anybody wishing to address the board on either agenda or non-agenda items. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the meeting held on September 6th, 2023, please?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those minutes are approved. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the agenda for today?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved. We do not have any conflicts of interest to discuss today. Moving on to the approval of the consent agenda, 8A through D. If I can get a motion and a second to approve that, please.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That consent agenda is approved. And next we have the reports of the president. I believe we're going to start with competency-based education programs update report. Who's the lucky person or persons? Great, love it.
So I'm Colette Schwartz.
Todd Wolin, Chief Technician. Dan Eisenboss, Leading Ventilation Application Refrigerator. Mark Sutter, Lecture.
Let's just say I'm representing nursing. So our competency-based education, what we did is we've been on a year-long journey now. About a year ago, we went to a conference that exposed us to a new approach, or an approach that has maybe been in our educational system. It's just now being kind of brought forth with innovative ways of teaching. And so competency-based education allows our students to advance based on their ability and their desire to how fast they can learn, to master a skill or a competency. And so this method is tailored to meeting the different needs of student outcomes. The 4 programs, as represented from us here, are our Diploma in Computer Technician, our AAS in Registered Nursing, AAS in Electrician, and Diploma in Education. So kind of what the journey that we have been on is the South Dakota Board of Tech Ed has kind of partnered with us this past year to explore and see if CBE was a fit for our organization. Again, like I said, we went to a conference last year in October, and we've also had a partnership with WGU where they have offered some training and some sessions in order for us to learn more about CBE and how we can incorporate that within our methods of teaching. And then we did have a distance teaching and learning course that faculty were a part of. I should say only select faculty were a part of that this fall, that gave us some more methods of how we could design a distance learning course. And then we have had regular meetings at Southeast Tech that have involved administration, faculty, financial aid. What we've come up with so far is kind of based off of the Board of Tech Ed has recommended that we align 1 credit to 1 competency. So that is what kind of drove our whole construction process with our curriculum. So we looked at each one of our competencies and developed a levels of mastery document, which focused on developed, highly developed, and developing. I should say highly developed, developed, and developing. And so those are a little bit different for each program. For computer technician, 80%, HVAC is 80%, and electrician would be 80%, and then an 84.5 to align with what we currently do within what we consider passing in our programs grade scale. We have done a quiet, quote-unquote, CBE pilot this fall, where we have formulated some formative and summative assessments to be included within our program. And so we've identified our competencies, we've developed our levels of mastery. Some are in different levels just because of the fact of how we have formulated our curriculum processes. Our program schedules have been created, and some of our LMS templates are being in the process of being built. Still a work in progress. And then, like I said, we did some pilot courses this fall. And that is our report.
Anybody have any questions? So you said you're doing a pilot this fall. So do you have how many students, or how does the pilot work?
Sure. So in our, it's not a, how would you say, formal pilot,
Mm-hmm.
but I had 50 students. I still have 50 students in my course that I'm piloting.
And we've got one course in the CIS group. Again, it's kind of a quiet CVE
Mm-hmm.
where we're actually offering them the options to finish sooner. And some students take advantage of it, and some aren't.
Sure.
I have 15 students in Cole's class right now. I'll let Marcus talk about electric and class.
Sure.
I got 28 that are currently in code class on tape and ready to involved in projects. Just to give it a run to see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. And have you gotten any feedback from students that you could share with us? Any of
So I must speak for nursing, sorry. So for nursing, a lot of the students that are in, or out of the 50 students in the 18 are not in, they're in other courses at the same time, which are in the traditional method. And so I personally, when we started, thought that our students would take off with it and would complete things a lot quicker, but I think because of the structure of the other courses, they pretty much have followed the same plan as their other courses. So the feedback that I've received is that they appreciated because that particular course offered a little bit more flexibility and ability to remediate, whereas the other courses have not offered that flexibility. So that was the feedback that I received. Otherwise, nobody really took advantage of going faster.
Mm-hmm.
I've had about 20% of the students take advantage of it, and they move at a little faster pace, and that's great. Some of them are just aren't scheduled. I only have a handful of students that are moving more quickly, and when I was thinking about how to say this, I was thinking about myself in middle school, how I was quote unquote selected for advanced mathematics, which is basically competency based, where I moved through the material, but I had an instructor to help me if I needed it. I just needed to get those benchmarks done. And thinking about that, I was motivated to do it, and I had peers around me motivated. When I think about, in particular, my HVAC students, I have 20 students in one cohort and 20 in another if that's full. And every year, I would say there's maybe 4 or 5 that are capable of whatever I put in front of them that want to do. And then I have the middle of the pack that are just waiting for me to direct them, to teach them what to do. And then I always have a few in the back that I'm trying as hard as I possibly can to pull them to that diploma. And so one concern I have with CPE is thinking about how do we advertise this so that students understand what they're enrolling in versus traditional track, so that they know there's a lot higher bar that you need to complete this, and also to try to avoid having a student enroll in this and taking more time or should allow CBE, some of the best practices that we should allow time and a half for them to get done. But if we do that, then we may be overloading lab or we may be overloading resources, and it just might get a little messy. So some of those mechanical pieces need to be explored yet, and what we have done is really deconstructed our curriculum and figured out this is what we want our graduates to know to be successful in their career field. And then we built that back up to a CBE curriculum. But what we really need to figure out is all the mechanics and inner workings and financial aid and missions and these types of things. So there's still a lot of work to be done on how can we deliver this effectively and how can we be fully transparent with the students that we're trying to advertise to the workers.
So I have a question, and I'm sorry if you said this earlier, but I was just thinking, the computer technician program, that's a year long, correct?
Correct.
So when you see kids take advantage of this, are they done, like when are they When do they complete that certificate technically?
Basically, the competencies are organized in a certain order. They take them in order and they can complete them as fast as they want. Typically, one competency is about 18 to 24 hours traditionally. So if they take 4 weeks to do it, they can continue on. But if they take 1 week to do it, which is possible, they can progress very quickly, graduate quickly.
So they basically could get that certificate in 9 months versus, you know, a full school year, and then have that so they can go get a job.
Absolutely.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think another side of this is that there are people who have maybe just industry experience, but they don't have the credential. And so they may have worked in HVAC, you know, for their dad or their cousin or uncle or whoever it might be, but they've never actually been formally trained. So they could come to your program and have all that knowledge and experience, but have never actually like put it down on paper. And so that person could accelerate through a program rapidly and end up with their certificate and still go on to do what they were doing before, but actually have the credentials behind their name, correct?
That's correct. And
Okay.
I would contend for HVAC in particular, that particular student that you just explained is probably just going to keep working instead of getting the credential,
Sure.
because they're making so much money already with the skills they have that they're not willing to pay to get the credential.
Sure.
Now, I might be wrong, but we haven't done any sort of assessment on figuring out that cohort who would be apt for that.
Sure.
With us, I got my non-traditional students. I got 2 of them that we just had advisory meetings this week. They're not a big fan, but they didn't dislike it because they're got families and they're working and this and that. The 18, 19-year-olds, most of them, it's like you gotta keep moving. You gotta. And I had more than one of them tell me they'd like more structure to it. Like this assignment is 3 days. This assignment. That's
Some
open
definitive things, yeah.
work at your pace.
That sounds about right for
Yeah,
different
and that's
ages
it. I
and
feel
experiences.
it's geared more towards somebody that has that experience that can come in and I don't have to hold their hand and walk them through everything, but give them that extra push to take that next step further.
Right. Yeah. And for some of those people, I agree with you. It maybe makes more sense for them to keep working, but if they intend to maybe be in a management position or something down the road where they might need to have something, that might be a great option for people. I know too, I'm a nurse and we had a lot of techs that would come from other countries and their nursing degrees. They were nurses in their country, but it didn't transfer to the United States. And so what a great opportunity for them to be able to take some classes, and even if it's a refresher, but they can demonstrate their knowledge and actually get their nursing degree, and instead of just being a patient care tech when they're maybe more skilled or knowledgeable than that position needs. So I think there's a lot of really great opportunities. They might all be unique and not apply to every situation, but it's great that we can kind of try to capture some of those scenarios as well. So thank you all for being willing to kind of step out of your comfort zone a little bit and have people doing different things in your classrooms. But I think as you kind of sort through all of those, like you said, the mechanics of lab time and things like that, I think hopefully we can get to a place where, you know, for the students that really appeals to, we can have something that works for them, but also works for your guys' schedules and workload as well. So thank you very much for the information. It's very interesting.
Thanks.
Can I get a motion and a second to acknowledge the competency-based education programs update report?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is acknowledged. Next, we have the Southeast Tech Counseling Report.
Good afternoon, President, members of the board.
I'm going to
My
have
name
you
is-
step to the microphone. Sorry. Thank you.
No problem.
There.
Good afternoon. My name is Nikki McMillan, and I'm the counselor at Southeast Tech, and I provide services for our students. Just a review of my credentials and backgrounds. Again, I'm licensed to provide services in the state of South Dakota, both in professional counseling as well as addictions counseling, and I have the board-certified tele-mental health provider certificate as well. Additional certificates. So the first one is new this year. I recently completed 15 hours of narcissistic abuse and gaslighting treatment course. And I will refer back to that here in a little bit as part of my trends in mental health.
Can I just say it's sad that something like that exists? But I'm glad you did it.
Yes,
I'm
it
glad you
is.
did
So
it.
we'll talk about that in Trends for Mental Health. And I continue to keep my other certificates up to date because these are things that our students are specifically dealing with. So integrative medicine provider, that's really nutritional counseling. We also talk a lot about, different sexuality as well as clinical anxiety treatment. So moving on. The modalities that we use out at Southeast Tech in my office, we do traditional face-to-face, so they can come into my office to meet with me. And I do a lot of telemental health, Teams-based video counseling, a lot of phone counseling. The text-based counseling is for email, and that is through counseling support and accountability, which I'll touch base on again a little bit later. And then I've mentioned before, I started doing phone check-ins for support and accountability, and that's where I take, a few hours out of my week, 1 to 3 hours, and I will move 5 to 6 students in that hour, and they will know I will contact them sometime during that hour for an accountability check-in. If they answer the phone, then we can talk briefly, and if they don't, that's okay. They know, they can email me to come back to that. In that check-in, it just kind of keeps them accountable, or they can say, hey, I probably need to see you before our next scheduled appointment, and maybe we can do that. So it gives them a little something in between time. So counseling numbers this year so far, from January 9th to June 30th, traditional services, those face-to-face hours, I saw 174 hours of face-to-face services. And telemental health, there was 451 hours. And so there's a big uptick in telehealth services, which again, I'll refer back to in a few minutes. 56 hours of video counseling. The telephonic counseling was 138. That seems really high, but a lot of those numbers were summer hours, which is where students use phone counseling the most. We do a lot of hours from 6 a.m. to like 10 or 11 a.m. in the summer before they go to work. And then I do quite a bit in the evening in the summers as well. Phone check-ins again, and then the email counseling is 193 hours. And what that kind of looks like is in a given hour, I can do a lot. I can knock out quite a few emails during that time. So that's not like a one-to-one like the traditional hours are. So far this year, starting July 1st through last week, pretty much tracking the same numbers, about 89 hours of individual counseling. Broken down, so far I've had about 222 hours of telemental health services. Again, those look a lot, video counseling is really popular during the school year. Telephonic counseling continues to be popular during the school year as well. I've had a lot of students who normally wouldn't do phone check-ins do those this semester because they are working a little bit more. And that's something that's also been a trend we've seen. So far, up to date, I've had 311 total hours of direct counseling services this semester. Some of the other things that I do throughout the course of the year is I do student support work group for strategic planning. I track the alcohol and drug abuse services for our biennial report. Student consultation and referral, and that's both internal and external. So internal, I act as a liaison for a lot of students who might want to, say, pass on information to instructors and they don't necessarily know how or want to do that themselves. So I'll generate an email, put instructors in that, and we will then work as liaison services there. Do a lot of liaison with student success or the ARC for tutoring. External is exactly what it might sound like. I help them with referrals if they need other things in the community, whether it be maybe it's financial counseling or maybe it's something with the Compass Center for sexual or domestic. I've had a lot of referrals to Call to Freedom, which, if you don't know, that's our trafficking and services here in Sioux Falls. And then I also do a lot of just referrals for students who are leaving the school or they've graduated and they want to go on to do other counseling. I don't see instructors for counseling, but I do a lot of consultation if the instructors need some help with something. And then I prepare the semester counseling reports. So the fun thing to talk about today is what we've seen trends in mental health. So for the last couple of years since COVID, traditionally for services, they have been face-to-face. One of the big trends is we have seen nationally a 500% increase in the use of telemental health services and the requests for those. Social and emotional ramifications, both of social media, social, emotional, and economical ramifications of COVID, but then combine those things, and we've really seen an uptick in relationship issues, especially with dating partners and significant others, which is why I looked for some clinical training to help with some of that. So back in the day, we called that emotional manipulation, emotional abuse. the buzzword today is gaslighting. And so you're seeing the TikToks, you're seeing all this stuff. And so that's coming into my office. And unfortunately, in our area, we've also seen an uptick in people who are involved in human trafficking or who have maybe come from that and have moved here. So I do tend to refer, say 2 to 3 a semester over at Call to Freedom. My response to these trends have been stay current with clinical trainings. I have definitely increased support via email and phone check-ins. Again, that's just so that I can keep those students on track and keep them coming back. A lot of consultation and referral for a multidisciplinary team support, both internally, where we keep our instructors, our support services, going, and then external, working as, someone who can help them keep in contact with those other resources while keeping them in school. So that is what I have to report today, if you have questions.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
No questions, just really appreciate what you do every day, including throughout the summer and supporting our students. And I think we all probably share, that mental health of our students, whether young or old or non-traditional, I should say, is just vital and so important in these days and times. So just again, appreciate everything that you're doing to stay current with issues and, just to teach yourself of what's going on,
Right.
And then supporting the students at Southeast Tech. So thank you.
Yeah, I would agree. Very important job to the success of so many, and not just the students, but then their relationships with their instructors, which if that becomes challenging to them, then coming to class becomes challenging. And then you just kind of stack all of those issues together. So really that domino effect of the work that you can do. So thank you very much. I always enjoy your presentation on what you're learning about. So thank you so much.
Yes, welcome.
Can I get a motion and a second to acknowledge the counseling report, please?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is acknowledged. And last but not least, foundation report.
Permission to approach.
Yes,
Handout.
you sure can.
Question to come aboard.
Good afternoon, President Ryder, Board. My name is Stephen Williamson. I'm the Director of the Foundation at Southeast Tech. And it is my honor and privilege to come and talk to you about our next fundraising campaign, Campaign Next. So, mission statement. Foundation is committed to providing financial resources, support student scholarships, perpetuating faculty excellence, growing new and existing programs, and supporting the workforce needs of the region, blah, blah, blah. How's that really look, though? What it looks like is, for example, Megan and I working together to make some significant changes to the Academic Resource Center. And me finding donors like Marsh McLennan Agency, First Bank and Trust, and Megan telling me what she needs and what her team needs, so we can make a significant change in our Academic Resource Center. So we just put in new furniture that is much more conducive to a tutoring situation, to where what one student said is, this doesn't feel like a detention hall anymore. So it makes tutoring a lot better. And we have seen, not only with the person that Megan hired in Suzanne, but also the new furniture, the amount of students that are taking advantage of those services has gone up dramatically. It also looks like, for example, when I talk to our person over in healthcare and Dr. Valdez, and when we talk to Avera Health about starting a 2-year program of behavior and mental health technician, and we get funds from the Seed for Success Foundation, the Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation, because you need to have that faculty member come in early to start the preparation. So we'll be able to start that program in January, but we can't do that unless we have the startup funds to bring that person on board, pay them a salary, things that sort. So, Campaign Next. Campaign Next is a $25 million comprehensive campaign to bring new assets to the college. This is the college's campaign. This is not the foundation's campaign. I work for the college. This is the college's campaign. The foundation board exists to support the college. The goals of the campaign were completed after the strategic plan was finalized. So this campaign is a direct result of the completion of the strategic plan Vision 2025. We're always in campaign mode. The greatest transference of wealth in the history of the world is happening now. Everybody is in campaign mode right now because there's massive wealth out there. There just is. The Now campaign ended December 31st, 2021. Next started January 1st, 2022. One day. So the next will end December 31st, 2025. The reason why we do campaigns is not all things that the college wants to do can be met through just the budget. Rich Clune is not magic, even though some people might sometimes think he is. That all of a sudden, all he has to do is just make tweaks to the budget and find funds for whatever we want to do. That's not the case. There are things that are outside of what we can find in the budget, and that's where I am helpful, or I try to be helpful, or the foundation tries to be helpful, or the foundation board, or donors in general. So that's why, it's one of the reasons why we do campaigns. The goals of the campaign, I won't go into great big detail, but just the 4 general goals: $8.5 million for student scholarships and financial support, $13.2 million for capital projects and renovations. That includes the Center for Healthcare Simulation, some additions onto the electrician program, smaller projects like new furniture at the aforementioned Academic Resource Center. Goal number 3, $2.5 million to improve access, opportunity, and programs. So budgetary funding for the Center for Access and Workforce Opportunity, i.e. Marcella Procup, augment the Academic Resource Center budget. So not only did we provide furniture, or donors provided furniture, but we'll also augment their budget by $25,000 a year for them to have more tutors and more professional tutors. Startup costs for behavioral mental health, summer camps, financial literacy, competency-based education. We are raising money, grants, all those things, for all those things that fall under what we want to accomplish with the strategic plan. And last, and definitely not least, is the annual fund, which is by far the hardest dollars to raise, but rather important to the foundation actually existing. So a campaign update. So our campaign co-chairs are Tony Knorr of First Premier Bank and Mark and Cynthia Mickelson. We have moved from the quiet phase of the campaign to the public phase. We had our public announcement last Friday. We had a good crowd, thank you, and announced where we were at in the campaign and made an official announcement on the campaign. To date, we have over 280 commitments ranging from $5 to $4.5 million. We have 4 commitments of $1 million or more. In total, we have commitments totaling over $20.3 million towards our $20.5 million goal, which is good. Not too shabby.
Great.
Last but not least, this is a team effort, similar to student recruitment. You can expect one office to do all the student recruitment, but honestly, they just lead the effort, and in the end, it's the campus that assists them in being successful at student recruitment. President Griggs, the vice presidents, the deans, directors, faculty, and foundation board are all participants and have brought in new donors, grants, in-kind gifts, and assets to the college. The foundation provides an avenue for donors to assist the college, but the foundation is not the only place, the only avenue where donors can assist the college. If they need a charitable receipt, that's where we come in. If they have if there are certain things that make it more appropriate for them to place their dollars with the foundation and the dollars from the foundation go to the college, that's what we provide. But that's not to say that's always the best avenue. They might want to give directly right to the college, some kind of transfer of wealth. Last but not least, there is no fluff in this campaign. And I catch quite a lot of guff at the college, but I like to bring up lazy rivers. There are colleges, campuses out there that have invested as much as $75 million so students can float in their off time. We don't have any lazy rivers in this campaign, and that's important. We are here to assist donors to present meaningful assets to the educational needs of our students, the faculty, and the staff of the college, and perpetuate our mission. And that's the most important thing that we do. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
I just want to thank you for all the hard work that you do. And what's fun about being on additional boards, being a board member, is sharing out your guys' work, because STC is usually one of the more innovative things that I get to share and speak about. So beyond the foundation, like all of you that have come here, you guys always find such unique, innovative ways to keep students engaged in a space that we know is declining.
Mm-hmm.
And so I so appreciate all you guys do and how much you guys share out the great work happening. It makes it easy for me to get excited and share with other people and send people your way. So thank you for everything.
Thank you. You know, this is about my fourth or fifth school that I've worked at, First Technical College. And I have had better, more deeper conversations with this leadership group about innovation and what we can do and where we go, and new opportunities with this group than all the other schools that I've been at combined. We talk all the time about where we are and where we want to go. And it's fun to be a part of that. So thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
What I like to see is you're coming up alongside the strategic plan, because you had a lot of stakeholders involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then with that being that bridge with the institutional priorities and needs to those with philanthropic intent. And it doesn't go unnoticed the amount of time it takes to be diligent building those bridges or those relationships out into the community.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like you're off to a really good start. And do you find people are going across the street to ever avoid you because you're doing so many fundraising calls?
No.
How's that working?
No, there's not yet. There is a process that goes into creating a quality campaign, and I think we've done that. The strategic plan was obviously the first part, and the campus making decisions on where it wants to go and what's appropriate and what our function is in this city and its area. We also had to get through HLC. It was appropriate that we got through that process before we started the campaign. So once those two things were completed, then it made sense to then go public with the campaign, even though we were in fundraising mode, quiet phase for a few years. But the fact of the matter is there is a process that you go through to start a campaign and present to the public.
Thank you for the invitation to be part of it.
Absolutely.
I was just going to add, I found the presentation, the kind of formal kickoff, to be really inspiring, listening to the people who spoke about, where they had come from and what a difference really any education can make in changing the trajectory of not just one life, but the family, like generations later. And so I think as we look at Sioux Falls continuing to change and bringing in people who maybe don't have a lot of experience with higher education, the opportunity that STC has to really change the trajectory for so many families and generations is amazing. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully people can continue to be inspired by those stories and really be motivated and see what their future could hold as well. So it's a great kind of just positive, inspiring message to get people excited about what their funds could do to change the lives of individuals, which then changes the community as a whole. So it was a great message that was shared too. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. When you do an event like that, it's kind of like, when you have a wedding and you're trying to figure out what's going to go wrong. And then if nothing goes wrong, you felt like, okay, that was a lot better than I was expecting. And so the fact is that we didn't have any hiccups. The Eric and his team with the technology, Lori Orlong did a great job. My associate, Tanya Van Briesen, seriously might be about the best person I've ever worked with. And she does unbelievable good work. And so it went off without a hitch, and people are able to present the way we were hoping they would. And that presentation did happen in there. So we were very happy with it. So thank you very much. Thank you for being there too.
To me, the entire program and the success that you've had directly falls back on how people feel about Southeast. When people ask me questions when we talk about it, a lot of nice things are said. I don't get a lot. I haven't had one person criticize or say, "What are they doing?" Yeah. So I think that's a reflection of all of you. Nice job.
Yeah. It's a place that's not only fun to fundraise for, but at the same time, when you have a mission and you have some things that are tangible that you can really point at beyond storytelling, but also data, which we also are constantly working on. When you have things of that sort, there are opportunities out there for fundraising, because we do fill a specific niche here in the Sioux Falls area that is unlike anybody else. So,
Thank you very much for your information.
absolutely, thank you.
Can I get a motion and a second to acknowledge the foundation update?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is acknowledged. Anything else? No. Can I get a motion and a second for adjournment, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Very good reports, guys.